Hello, I'm Eric Saturn, or the Baron, and today we're going to start some classes on how to fight rape. So, as with everything, the best way to start is always with the two most basic, and that is how to hold the sword and how to get yourself a good stance. All right. So, one of the things that is important to understand is everything that you start with early will develop more. You're also going to change some things depending on certain styles, certain schools of thought, and certain movements. So these are, again, like I said, very basic stuff to start with. So what you want to do is, especially with the rapier, you want to make sure that when you hold it, you want to grasp it nice and tight, but only on the back half. So essentially, you will go and have a firm grip with your ring finger and your pinky on the backside. This allows you to have flexibility and be able to shift positions with your forward fingers and to include your thumb. So when you hold on to it, you hold on to it nice and tight, and essentially you keep the middle, your trigger finger, and your thumb very flexible. Now, you go and essentially, whenever you are either parrying or striking, you want to make sure that you grip to the position that you want to land the shot with the forward fingers at that point. So you hold in the back to keep very good flexibility and control, and then you commit by placing the fingers and striking. Now, this also includes whenever we start talking about shot placement, okay, how you rotate your hand is how you're going to support the ball. So usually have like on the outside or on the top, sometimes you will go and have a rigid thumb. Sometimes for your trigger finger, you will go and have your finger parallel to the blade. Sometimes it'll be on the bottom like a trigger. And even sometimes you can use your middle finger as a trigger. This will allow for additional shifting of the foil, okay? Now, the second thing that's going to be is stance, okay? So what you always want to do is you always want to have both your most forward position available, because the primary thing is going to be striking with the tip. So you always want to make sure you're in a position where you have your tip at the most advanced forward position. So usually if you fight heavy, you will go sword and shield, and you will put your left leg out with your shield, because for heavy, you're not really striking with the tip all the time. The majority is with the striking surface. And with that, you definitely want to create momentum and position. So that's when you step and throw. Here, it is mostly tip you're trying. Okay? So therefore, instead of having this position that you normally do for heavy, you actually go and position with your right leg forward. Now, this does several things. Number one, as you can see here, I have a very large silhouette for a lot of striking surface. This creates a much narrower surface, okay? This also allows for the leg to be out forward, so you can either lean forward, you can also take a step, which we'll cover more when we actually do movements. But this allows you to have full position to both block and to attack, which creates the least amount of target area from your opponent. Now, whenever you start fighting rapier, muscle memory at the beginning is always key. So you should always start in a position and get used to that stance and used to movement forward and back. But you should also switch to left, okay? So for the same number that you do, say you do 20 thrusts, 20 parries, 20 movements with your right hand side, you should do it 20 with your left. because eventually what's going to happen is there's many different things you can use. You can use a rigid parry, a soft parry. You can also do case, which means you're now going to use two swords. So immediately you need to have a good understanding of how this works, then also how this works, because you'll be able to adapt very quickly and not learn bad habits. So like I said, I'm going to have a series. They're going to be short. I'm going to focus on very specific things right now. So as like I said, this is just the basic stance, which is going to be bring your right leg forward, toes pointing forward. Your back leg will be back and slightly off, and your hips will be pointing directly to your opponent. Okay, this will allow for some slight movements on adjusting, but also a good solid stance for movement. Okay, so into your good stance and start figuring out how to hold your sword. Like I said before, a nice solid grip on back. So therefore you can have good wrist flexibility, and then start figuring out placement for both the trigger finger, your thumb, and even the middle finger on a few of the shots. So just get comfortable with holding and just moving. Then what we'll do is we will actually go into the first series of 4 positions of the Rapier strikes. Then we'll develop from there to parries, movements, the combination of parries and strikes, everything like that. But we're going to go one step at a time, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.